Now let's have a look at the headings block or just the heading block. It's the same thing. And what is the purpose of the heading block? It's to set up subheads and subheads to a document, or to give your document structure, to give it a hierarchy, to make it easier for readers to understand your content, to make it easier for Google to spider through your content and understand it. It's just a good SEO practice. It's just a good practice, period. So here we have the page that I'm going to make and just walk you through it. And you can see I have a bunch of fake dummy paragraphs and then some headings. How do you do all this? Well, I've already started this post and I've given it a title called Headings Block. Fine. And for these, to get us started, I'm just going to Command V and I'm just going to paste in a bunch of paragraphs just to make our lives a little easier and to smooth things along. So let's say you just wrote a whole bunch of paragraphs and decided, I need some subheads. Now, if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, think of when you read a chapter in a book, how there'll be like the chapter title, and then there'll be subheads and maybe subheads inside the chapter. Same thing with reading a newspaper article or a magazine article, or anything online for that matter that's well done. You'll see that the content is separated into, let's say, paragraphs and images and other kinds of content, but they'll also have these headings. So let's just say over here I wanted to put in a subhead. So I'm just going to type in the word subhead just to give ourselves something to work with. And by default, of course, WordPress gives us the paragraph block, but I want to transform this now. So I'm going to click on the paragraph icon, and we can now transform this into a heading. Okay, and that's fine. And now I also want to just take a quick little look over here. Now it says H2. In WordPress and in web development and in HTML, there are 6 different headings. The first one is reserved over here for H1. So that's why when you start putting your subheads in, WordPress will give you an H2. But you'll see there's H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, and believe it or not, there's an H6. Okay, so H2 would be the first subhead in your article. All right, let's just do another one over here. And let's put one over here. And let's, in this case, do a subhead. Okay, so this would be something that would be, this would be information that would fit under or go under another heading, but would be a subheading to the subheading, if that makes any sense. So that's why I'm calling it the subhead. And then I am going to have to transform this. So go to heading. And again, this time I'm going to use that H3. Okay. Now, one thing you want to keep in mind is even though the text looks smaller, the font size is smaller, that's not why you're using headings, and that's not the purpose of headings at all. So visually, yeah, you can see there's a difference. But from a web structure or web document, you want to just think in terms of hierarchy. So this would be something that would be sort of, if you're thinking of an outline, it would be underneath this subhead. And then the article that we're writing here could jump back out to a subheading, another subhead, but it would be on the level of this subhead over here. So to make my life a little easier, what I'm going to do is just click on the subhead. Of course, you get the toolbars here. Now, these toolbars are similar, but not the exact same thing as the paragraph. But it does have bold, italic, link, inline editing. But I am going to click on the 3 dots options and go to copy. Well, that's pretty simple. And what I want to do is just stick my cursor here at the end of this paragraph and hit Command V. And so I copied. So you can definitely copy and paste stuff in Gutenberg. And with that, we want to just take a quick look over here. So I'm going to go back to my toolbar and go into these options, which are very similar to paragraphs because headings are similar to paragraphs. And I'm going to see that I can change the font size. Okay, and I could make this huge if I want. But generally, if you're going to be using this kind of thing, I wouldn't mess around too much with the size over here. You can if you want. You can change the font size. But I think ideally, I would stick with what's the default of your theme. That is how the heading tags are set up in terms of their font size. And then over here, if you want, you could add a color. So let's just do this background color first. Okay. And I'm going to leave the text color alone. We'll just leave it right like this. In any event, if you want to change something that's not preset, you can always click on this over here and then just move this to something like this. And you can see the color of the, whoa, yeah, it's not good. So we're just going to just change it like that. Okay, so you don't have to stick with just what you see over here. And then just click outside of the color picker and away we go. One last thing I want to have a look at is if I go back to the toolbar, you can see that I have this alignment, just like I had with paragraphs, and I'm going to make this align to the center. And so that might look kind of nice, right? And you could do, of course, the same thing with these other headings too, but you get the idea that you can change the alignment of your headings. Use the headings to give structure, to give definition and meaning to any web document that you're creating for a website.